Guys, welcome back to the channel. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at a political debate on immigration involving British columnist Sonia Soda and the one and only Richard Tice from Reform UK. So they're going to come with two different perspectives. You know, Sonia Soda's perspective is that there is a growing aging population in the United Kingdom, which would place a further tax burden on the UK workers to support the same public services. And she proposes that we should bring in more skilled workers to uplift the UK economy. And on the other hand, you have Richard Tice saying, nah, none of that. We don't need more immigration. No, what we need is we need to control the population that we have now so that it's not exploding in the next couple of years, and we need to enhance the economy. And you can only do so with good government policies, not policies that Labour puts forth that, you know, allows millionaires and entrepreneurs to run away to Dubai, America, Singapore, etc., where they're more incentivized to grow their businesses. So Richard Tice is basically saying, no, keep population as it is now, let it grow organically, but let's just enhance the economy so that everyone is, you know, benefiting as a result, and people are not just getting poorer because millions more just being, you know, dumped into the UK, or they're coming from all angles, and the economy can't facilitate everyone. So that's it. But anyway, guys, that's a bit of a long introduction. Let's watch the debate now.
So, Sonia, there's some agreement there between the government and Richard Tice.
Yeah, evidently. I mean, I think there is consensus around people who are here illegally and working illegally. I've not really seen anyone kind of make the case for that. So it's not entirely surprising. Perhaps where there may be more disagreement, certainly between me and Richard Tice, is when you're talking about legal migration. Richard Tice said that that's out of control. I actually think politicians need to have a really honest conversation with the public, which is we've got an ageing society that presents immense long-term fiscal challenges. So, you know, you need to pay, working people are going to have to pay more and more tax in order to support the same level of NHS services. There aren't easy efficiencies there. So you either put your own birth rate up, which no rich country has really succeeded in doing, or you have skilled immigration, which actually can boost economic growth and mean that people here have to pay less tax to support the same services. Now, it doesn't seem to me like any politician is willing to, there's a trade-off here. We've got to be honest about it. No politician is being honest about that.
Richard, you're not being honest about the trade-offs?
There's no trade-off at all. Look at the evidence. In the 1980s, when we had net immigration of about 30 to 50,000 every year, people were getting older, and guess what? We were training up our own British workers, our own healthcare and social care workers, and people were getting older, but everybody was being looked after. It worked well then. What you actually need to do is if you limit the supply of labour, one of two things happens. The price of the labour goes up, and yes, I'm very happy for the price of labour to go up. That's a great thing for workers on low pay. Or businesses invest in capital equipment to replace the labour that they can no longer afford. That's literally basic rule number one on economics. And this idea you can permanently increase the supply of the population. They all get older. Everybody gets older.
But the thing that's very different
Richard, just let Sonia come back on that.
Is that the birth rate has fallen. And that is something that politicians are not being honest about. If you have an ageing population, which means that your population structure is shifting to a greater proportion of retirement age, and you've got fewer working age people, that has shifted significantly since the 1980s, that does create a conundrum, which is young people in their teens and 20s today, in 30 years, you either have to say, we're not going to have the same level of health services, we're not going to have the same level of care for older people, which is personally not something I want to see, or you're putting a burden on those young people to pay more tax, which, you know, you've got to be honest about this, Richard, and other politicians do too. There is a cost to cutting migration in the long term, and it's higher. There absolutely is. This is basic economics that you're not getting right. And that cost is higher taxes for young people who are in their teens and 20s today.
Right, Richard?
Absolute twaddle.
It's not, I mean, it's not twaddle, but, you know.
Life expectancy is no longer going up. It's flatline. The retirement age is going up.
I'm talking about the birth rate, Richard. There's links between the birth rate and a falling birth rate in the UK and other rich nations, ageing societies, and a big long-term fiscal crunch that's coming down the line. That it's not just a reform problem. No politician seems to want to.
Richard, do you want to come back on that?
If you have a stable population, then, and you grow the economy, then everybody gets better off. At the moment, we've got a rapidly growing population and no growth, and everybody's getting poorer, and that cannot be sustainable.
Lewis, so basically no one's being honest about this.
Well, no, we've set out our policy on immigration. We want that significantly to come down. I heard loud and clear on the doorsteps at the general election in my constituency of Broxbourne that people are fed up with the levels of immigration. You can't get your child into the school you want. There's real pressure on getting GP surgeries, appointments. So what we've got to do is we've got a large section of the population that left the workforce during the COVID pandemic. We've got to encourage them, make work pay, upskill them and get them back into the workforce. We don't necessarily need immigration to do that. We've got people here who are economically inactive, who we need to encourage back to the workplace, because the best form of welfare in this country is a well-paid job.
Zoe,
So I see all this a little bit differently, which is that I don't understand the kind of passion about, okay, it's illegal work, therefore it's bad, but at least it's work, it's economic activity, people who are getting here and they are hustling, which seems to me...
maybe they're not paying taxes.
Yeah, okay, they're not paying taxes in this generation. Okay, I just think there are a couple of branching... there are a couple of avenues that happen when you get completely unvetted illegal migration. One is that they hunker down and start plotting terrorism. That's one of the things that I would be afraid of. People who come from countries that have, I don't know, ideologies that they're more prey to certain extremist thinking, perhaps. I don't know, cultural differences. Obviously, most migrants are not doing that, but that is clearly one thing people are worried about is people from countries that aren't vetted who plot terrorism. That's a small, tiny, tiny amount. The other is that they get stuck in, become economically active, hustle, deliver people's Deliveroo, and then get a foothold in society. And if they aren't deported, they can start to become, economic contributors. The other thing is that, people say poor British workers are squeezed out of all of this. To some degree, that might be, but is it really the case that there are so many British workers who are desperate to be doing these jobs and they're being literally prevented from doing so by the this illegal workforce who's willing to work for less and so on and so forth, and all this sort of we must lure them into economic activity? Is there not a bit of a cultural issue with people not seeking out work? I mean, work should be an end, working is good for morale, good for supporting your family, good for all sorts of reasons. Why is there this reluctance to work? Why do we need to put on hold all these other things in order to desperately persuade economically inactive Brits to work? This seems to be a much deeper cultural problem that has nothing to do with people coming to Britain and delivering Deliveroo.
I think dealing with the economically inactive in this country is a crucial thing, and that's why the government is putting forward plans to deal with that. I think ensuring that work pays is also something that is critical to this, because there's no point people on poverty wages not being able to keep food in their stomach and a roof over their head. Work has to be able to sustain your life, and it isn't just about pay, it's about feeling good about yourself and contributing to society. I think this government's approach to migration, linking it to the skills that we need in this country, and as I said, leveraging that talent to train up our workforces so that you're not just economically inactive, you are able to see how you can contribute to this country. I think that is vital to the future of how we do these things. I think it's vital to how we solve a lot of the problems that we have here.
Guys, tell me you noticed what just happened with the woman wearing the white shirt. She couldn't say Islam. Did you notice she was stuttering? She just couldn't say it. Political correctness. She understands that it's a problem, but she just can't say it. She's like, people that come in with different ideologies, not saying everyone's doing it, but some people come in, it's a fringe minority that come in with radical ideologies. Just say it. This is what I'm saying, political correctness has absolutely cut through our political discourse. When we're talking about things, we just fear to say the word Islam. We can't do it for some reason, but I can, because I'm educated on the matter, so I can call it for what it is. But anyway, guys, Richard Tice, 110%, population can't just keep on exploding, keep it as it is, and just build on the economy so that everyone's getting richer. What she's proposing, we don't have years to figure out how that's going to affect people. No, I know she's trying to come with clever discussions in a way to make people just accept more mass immigration. The British public have spoken, they've said they're not interested in that. Make the economy richer, keep the population stable, and in that way, people's lives will be enhanced and people will be feeling it more so. Last thing I'm going to say, my last video was about Angela Rayner. She was even talking about housing, how have you done anything to help housing? You know, UK is way behind on targets. You're not holding Sadiq Khan accountable. He's demanding more money. In addition to that, you've just removed the right to buy. So you've stopped, you know, you've impeded many people living in council houses that would have benefited from a £137,000 discount on their house, and now they only get a 16k discount. So how are you helping them get onto the property ladder? So there's so much with this Labour government, but yeah, you know, this isn't you know, I just, you know, leave that for another video. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.